you want to kind of respond tit for tat, right?
Sure.
Hey, you're gonna give this, poke in the eye. I'm gonna poke you in the eye right back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that early on, and Amy can attest to this because Amy usually, looks over all the red pen stuff and make sure that we're not being aggressive in that way, and we're not insulting in that way, and we're not, sometimes my sarcasm, I think, slips in. It is my love language. So but again, we're trying to kind of sanitize that out of there so that the argument doesn't get lost. You know what? I could make a video where I just mock and ridicule, and it may come across to our world as very persuasive because we think with our feelings. We're not using our minds, we're using our hearts instead. And that can lead people astray. And so I could convince a whole bunch of Christians to side with me because I've just completely, dunked on this atheist rather than responding to the arguments themselves. And so but we don't do that. We're doing our best. And I wish you could kind of walk with me through the process because, you watch a video and you're just thinking, oh my, where do I even begin? And here's what I'm feeling, but I can't say that, I want some substance here. I want to be persuasive and rely on, rational argumentation. And so, and that's what we try to do. And sometimes we miss the mark, but most of the time we stay pretty close to that. So totally get what you mean, John. It's interesting. Doug Groteis, a philosopher, he posted recently that he's actually written an article and I think a talk as well on using mockery in apologetics. And I just I am totally fascinated to, I'm interested to read that and what he says there. But as it is right now, I just don't think that's usually an appropriate response. We don't take that approach. They might have a whole audience that thinks that's, oh wow, look at so and so owned so and so. The headlines on YouTube videos, right? To grab attention. Everyone wants to see someone get totally owned, but we don't want to own people. We want to respond to the arguments.
Yeah, I think that's great because it comes down to it's an ad hominem attack, right? It's a slander, it's a making fun of, it's a shaming. And I think that as Christians, we are not, like going back to Amy's point, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to commit to human dignity and to help people be built up. But it's such a it's so alluring because you can get more likes on YouTube, right? You can get people to agree with you and think that you are wittier, but it's just rhetoric and it's empty and it's hollow. And we need to do better than that. Amy, what were you going to say?
The pattern in the culture is to be willing to kind of fudge on the truth a little bit for the sake of a higher goal. That's kind of the way our culture works. The truth is kind of the lesser goal, and if it helps you get what your agenda wants, then it's great. You can use it. If it doesn't, then you kind of adjust it a little bit. This is where we have to really fight what the culture is teaching us. The truth has to be the highest thing. There is no adjusting the truth for a higher goal, because if God is truth, we can't fudge on the truth. So when the temptation comes, I think this part of this comes back to what you were saying about trusting God, Robbie, earlier. What we need to do is realize that we're not going to persuade everyone, and so we can't sacrifice other things for that sake. We need to put truth in its proper place. And one thing that really helps with that is to have the goal be clarity. So your goal is to make your position as clear as possible. If they can understand, or at least if you've expressed it clearly, then you have succeeded in speaking the truth. And there's value in that, even if they aren't persuaded, because we are glorifying God every time we speak the truth.
Yeah, I think this is all like a really good discussion. The how truth is prominence, and we, in the process, like we have to view, like it goes back to, in my opinion, to viewing people appropriately. Right. We have to first defend truth. Right. So we always defend truth. We speak our message clearly, and the words that we use will sometimes be offensive. I mean, Greg always says that the gospel is offensive enough. There's no need to add any offense to it, right? I love that saying, but we need to remain resolute even in the face of offense. But in the same time, we don't have license as Christians to be unloving, nasty. We don't have license to be mean-spirited. But we also, I think this is, as an apologist, this is for me at least, it feels like kind of a tightrope that we have to walk, because we also can't give in to the cultural pressures to compromise our message in any way.
Mm-hmm.